Believe it or not, humor writer Dave Barry is about to turn 72, and he's getting the mail to prove it.
I'm getting old. It feels like half the mail I get these days is urging me to prearrange my funeral. I used to get interesting, even exciting mail. Granted, a lot of it was from Ed McMahon telling me I might already have won $17 million. He was lying, of course, but at least his letters were upbeat. Now I get mail about old person things. Funerals, hearing aids, catheters. That's right, I get catheter mail.
During that introduction on CBS Sunday Morning, what I thought was the most unfair thing is when Jane Pauley started the entire thing by going, "Our guest, the gentleman you're about to hear, has just turned 72. Why would you want to tell a man's age? Come on, don't be doing that now. We keep trying to be 50 our entire lives. Don't tell anybody the man is 72. I don't tell anybody my age." Come on, we're going to have a big talk with Jane when that's done. Hi once again, everybody, and welcome in. I'm Ed Berliner. Welcome to Studio A, and this is a special edition of The Man in the Arena. Our guest is someone that I have been seeking to interview for a very long time on all the radio and the TV shows that I have done, and we have never seemed to catch up. But this time, I got him, because he's got a new book out, which I think is about his 193rd book, based on so many things that he has done over the years. I first read him, as many of us did many years ago, when he was a columnist for the Miami Herald. He is considered by many to be the funniest man in America. I agree. I have no problem with that. I think he is. I've read his stuff for decades. I think that's exactly right. We have to get the exact number of books. I believe it's 50. But his most current book actually just really grabbed me because everybody who is my friend, knows me, follows me, knows that I'm a big dog guy. I mean, I write about them all the time. And his latest book is called Lessons from Lucy, The Simple Joys of an Old Happy Dog. And trust me, we're all going to be old happy dogs one day, and nobody has the kind of life experiences that my guest has here. Nobody is as funny as Dave Barry, who joins us here on The Man in the Arena. Mr. Barry, it's a pleasure, my friend. Now, we have to be funny for the next 20, 25 minutes. You realize that, of course.
It's always great to be identified as hilarious because everybody's going, all right, make me laugh, you know. One time, like 30 years ago or more, a reviewer for the New York Times book review, very nice reviewer, said, Dave Barry is the funniest man in America. Now, that's a preposterous statement to make. You know, who knows who the funniest man in America is? It certainly isn't me. But, she wrote that in a review. And so, of course, they put that on the book as a blurb. Dave Barry is the funniest man in America. And that has been following me around the rest, for my entire professional career. The New York Times says, and like, first of all, who takes the New York Times judgment on what funny is? But anyway, so
Donald Trump and the rest of his people take it as funny.
Now there's the funniest man in America. You just
see, it didn't take. What did it take? Less than 3 minutes to get a Trump reference in, which I think is probably record-setting. Well, for every comic.
You brought him up. I was.
Well, let's deal with that then. Before we have so much to talk about the book. Lucy, I definitely want to talk about as well. But to a man like you, as I said, I read you first in the Miami Herald, and your stuff was flat out, laugh out loud, funny. And I interview a lot of comedians, stand-up comics, people who are actors as comics, and they spend their lives at it. Your stuff just comes naturally. So what is it about funny? I mean, what does Dave Barry see as funny? And how do you then translate that down to the written word as being funny?
I think my secret is I have no useful skills and I don't have a real job. So like when regular people, and I look out my window in the morning and I see people driving by on their way to Miami. I live in Coral Gables. They're on their way to Miami. And I know they're all going to go and they're going to sit in an office somewhere. And then they're going to do something productive all day, or at least they're going to do something that most people would identify as work. And I kind of envy them because they know where they're going and they know what they're going to do. Me, I come into this room where I am now, and I sit here in front of a screen and I think, I don't have anything to say. I have no wisdom. All I can try to do is try to be, amusing. So, but I contend that if you spend all your time just trying to think of jokes, eventually some jokes will come to you. And since that's all I ever do, I get this reputation for being funny. I know people who are much funnier than I am in just to talk to, but they don't sit around all day thinking of booger jokes, whereas I do.
See, that's what
My
I've
secret.
always been trying to do. I've been trying to reach the point in my career where I could sit around and think about booger jokes all day, and I haven't gotten there, Dave.
And you've been frittering away your life doing radio and television. Yeah.
Sports,
just
news,
go
everything
in
else.
office.
It's ridiculous. I've
Yeah.
wasted my life away terribly at this point. But when you're watching things, I mean, what is it that you go to that's funny? Are there comics, writers, movies, things that you go to where you get maybe not inspiration, but where funny comes from to you?
Well, first of all, I don't really get inspiration from other people in the humor business. I like to watch humor, but I like to just do it passively and be amused. I don't want to be thinking, now, how did they do that? Or how did they do that? Or could I do that? I don't do that. Where I get most of my inspiration, and this is going to sound very obvious when I say it, is from just ordinary life. Most of my columns, most of my books, most of everything I've written, rarely is it based on any kind of information that is inaccessible to other people, or it's just I go to the supermarket and something will strike me, and usually at the time it happens, it's more annoying than anything else. Like, I'll give you a trivial example, but I go to Publix, and on my list that Michelle Kaufman, my wife, has written me, it says orange juice. So I go to the orange juice department at Publix, and have you ever looked at how many different kinds of orange juice there are? It's like
Yes.
pulp, no pulp, low sodium pulp, medium
Yes.
pulp. What the hell? And in my mind, it should just be like orange juice, but it's not. It's like and then which freaking orange juice am I supposed to have to call Michelle and show her show her with the phone FaceTime so she can? Is this the one But then when later on,
Guilty.
I'll think,
Guilty.
oh,
I've
that's
done exactly the
that's-
same thing when it comes to just about everything.
Yeah.
It's all right. When you see 27 different brands of OJ, which one do you get?
Yeah, and it's it's not just OJ, it's everything now.
Mm-hmm.
Milk used to be just milk. Never mind. Now we're going to start sounding like two Andy Rooneys here, but you know what I mean. But the point is, when that happens to me, I don't usually go, "Oh, I'm going to write a column about the orange juice choices," or when I'm standing behind a moron in a 7-Eleven and I want to pay for like coffee, and the moron wants to buy lottery tickets like he's investing his life saving. At the time, my reaction is, why do I have to wait behind an idiot who's just, I just feel like I want to grab his money out of his hand and set fire to it, in front of him. Here, this is what you're doing, you moron. Get out of the way, let me get my coffee. So I'm angry. But then later I'll think, hey, I could write a column about, that. So generally, when I get an idea, it doesn't occur to me at the time that it's a humor idea. It's just something that happened to me, and often it's something that irritates me. And then later on, I'll write a column about it. One more example. I just was on a book tour, so I was on a plane almost every day for almost 3 weeks. That's a lot of planes. And after a while, I began to this one thing was starting to drive me crazy, and it was listening to this poor flight attendant, the main flight attendant, with a microphone at the front as they're boarding the plane, going, when you get to your row, please step out of the aisle so the people behind you can get past. And over and over. And the reason that the poor flight attendant has to say that is nobody ever does that. They all, I'm just going to stop and stand here and, mess with my luggage for a while. And I'm thinking, how hard is that to understand that you are blocking everybody behind you? That's why this person keeps saying this in your ear in the last week. Why don't you know? See, I'm still angry about that one. Eh? But anyway, that's the kind of thing that will result in a column. And then when I write that column, I'm really just writing something that everybody knows. Everybody knows there's too many kinds of orange juice. Everybody knows it's annoying when you're behind people in line. And I'll write, but I'll try to make it, amusing the way I write about it. And people will go, oh man, where do you get your ideas? And I'm thinking, that's an idea. I didn't have that. That's not an original idea. You already know that's annoying yourself, but you have a real job. So you don't spend a lot of time figuring out how to write it. And I do. That's my secret.
How much
real life is my secret?
Well, no, you're right, because everything you're talking about is everything that we face every single day, and we all come across it. We just don't. I think what happens is we don't stop and go, "That's absurd. That's ridiculous." We just kind of let it go by us. Now, you've been doing this as an observer for decades. Let's go back to the Miami Herald days. How much leeway did they give you? Did they? Because you're already laughing on this because I'm curious, because there's some of the things that you wrote about, which I was saying, I wonder if they really gave Dave and knew what they were doing when they gave him the okay to let him write about this.
Yeah, I can't. To this day, I'm still amazed at some of the things they let me write about. Because when I started, really got syndicated, I started writing a column in the 70s, but it really got going in the 80s. But back then, the humor writers, and these were all wonderful humor writers, were like Art Buchwald, terrific, Russell Baker, terrific, Irma Bombeck. These people were terrific humor writers, but they were very, how do I put it? They were a whole generation older than me, and they wrote in a certain way that was more mature than me, and more thoughtful, and I think less edgy probably would be the word. And when the Herald hired me, the reason I went to work for the Miami Herald is that the immediate editors I had there, Gene Weingarten and Kevin Hall, were both insane and didn't let me write anything. And
no, you're not saying funny. You're saying insane, as in completely insane. I mean, really insane.
They were nuts. They were out of their minds. I will give you an example of things that we did. I worked for Tropic Magazine, which will never happen again in American journalism, but it was just they let us just do. It was Animal House for journalism. They let us do anything we wanted. And here's my example. When of something that I'm really, to this day, I can't believe they did this. When the Orlando Magic, when the Miami Heat got started, the only team we ever had a chance to beat was the Orlando Magic. Both new teams, both in Florida. So we decided at Tropic Magazine that I would do a story making fun to start a rivalry with the only team we could beat, which was the Orlando Magic. So I went up and wrote this like viciously insulting story about Orlando, the whole city, all the people who live there. I referred to the citizens of Orlando as low forehead, nose picking yahoos, about not once, maybe 25 times. That was the standard reference to the good people of Orlando. And so that was it. It was just one long insult at, starting our rivalry with Orlando. The cover they wanted to do, they decided to have a picture of me in a Heat jersey spinning a basketball on my finger. Guess which finger?
Perfect. And I will tell you this. I remember that cover well. And when you're bringing it up, that's one of the things I remember looking at and going, did they know what finger Dave was using?
And it was like, they're like, with a basketball on, hi Orlando, and they printed it, and it went out to 1 million people wherever the circulation of the Miami Herald was then. And I didn't get fired, and neither did the editors get fired. I mean, they were a little bit unhappy with the reaction. Some of the citizenry was very unhappy with that cover, but they let me do it. So I really I was so lucky to end up there as opposed to many other newspapers that I just don't think would have run my column the way I wrote it. In fact, when I first got started as a syndicated columnist, what I would often get, the response I would often get from editors of papers was, I think this is funny, Dave. I liked it. I laughed. Our readers won't get it. Our readers will be offended, and that's why we're not going to run your column. And so it took a while to overcome that for me.
What then has happened to humor writing when you put political correctness in there? And you did a very interesting speech a while back at a university where you were asking about what happened to, what's going on at universities. Where's the edginess that happens here?
I just don't know what has happened to the universities. I mean, it's, certainly not an original observation on my part, but the least free area of thought left in the United States seems to be the universities. The one place where you'd think free thought and free speech and conflict of ideas would be most encouraged has somehow miraculously become the most restricted and constricted and just constipated, intellectually constipated area of American life.
It would seem as if we have a zero when it comes to humor writers in America today, where either they're scared or they just don't want to be funny anymore. They don't want to take a chance.
Yeah, there's really two factors, I think, going on, and they're both very, very bad for the humor business. One is what you say, it's political correctness, which is a very real and in my opinion, sad phenomenon where, colleges and I went to college a long time ago, but when I went to college was where the fun was, where you were allowed to say stuff that people found offensive, where you were allowed to disagree. And that was kind of the point of it. It was the squares outside of college who wanted to shut you down and not say things, but college was wide open. Let's go. And now it's completely the opposite. It's well known. It was Chris Rock who said, he tells comics, don't perform on college campuses because they're going to just give you way more grief than it's worth it. You're going to get in trouble no matter what you say, where you go. They're going to be offended. They're going to be hurt. They're going to be snowflakes. So that's a terrible thing, and it is hurt. I feel bad for kids growing up now, going to colleges and never getting exposed to anything that they might possibly disagree with, and anything that they might be offended by. As a result of that, is you miss out on a lot of good jokes, to be honest. The other thing that I think has been bad for humor, kind of not in a way related, but it's it's Donald Trump, but not in a way that it reflects badly on Donald Trump. Although there are plenty of things I could say that would reflect badly on Donald Trump. But when he got elected, instead of what we usually have is clever humor. There's a lot of really brilliant people writing for the late night shows, but they kind of felt whoever the president was, they could make fun of him. So we had Barack Obama, and I don't think they felt they could make fun of him because he was the first African American president,
or maybe that they wanted to make fun of him.
What?
Or maybe that they wanted to make fun of him at that point. It seems as if when Obama was president, there was a good part of the comedic world, the humor world, that just didn't want to make fun of him.
It was like, you can't make fun of him. And it was stupid because Barack Obama, wonderful guy and everything, he did, many things that you could make fun of. He won a Nobel Prize for doing absolutely nothing. There were jokes to be made and they didn't get made. But then when Donald Trump came along, it isn't like jokes anymore. It's like insults. They're not even funny half the time, like that woman who, I can't remember her name.
The White House Correspondents Association says critics of Saturday night's annual gala have a reason to be upset. The group says an edgy monologue by comedian Michelle Wolf was, quote, not in the spirit of its mission. Wolf made jokes about the media and the president, but her mocking of White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders caused the strongest backlash.
I actually really like Sarah. I think she's very resourceful. Like, she burns facts, and then she uses that ash to create a perfect smoky eye.
Some female journalists said Wolf unfairly criticized Sanders' physical appearance, calling the routine deplorable.
I have to say, I'm a little starstruck. I love you as Aunt Lydia on The Handmaid's Tale.
I would love to see clever Trump humor, and there, I guess, is some, but it's mostly, to me, just kind of the same thing repeated endlessly. And its goal is not to make you laugh. Its goal is to establish that I, the comedian, have the right views about him, and you will agree with me, and we'll all clap for each other. But God forbid anybody would make fun of anybody who doesn't like Donald Trump, because then you're on the wrong side of that. So it's humor has been badly battered, I feel, from two directions, and those are which is why for me, like the really funny stuff tends to be TV shows that are somewhat divorced from, a show like The Office, where it's, there's not a lot of political issues to be discussed, where the writers are sort of freer to just try to be funny.
Before we get onto the Lucy book, there's one book that I do want to bring up. And I think sometimes people look at it differently from what you meant. You, as a Floridian for a very long time, have in many cases defended your state. which is not easy these days, especially with Florida Man out there. You wrote a book which actually, and this is what people defending the state didn't get. You were defending of Florida with best state ever. It's right on the cover of the book. A Florida man defends his homeland. Guys like, and I know there's Chuck Todd who interviewed you recently, and others who say, well, how can you defend Florida? All right, Dave, I've got to ask you that question as somebody who's also lived here for many years. How do you defend this place? I mean, it's insane, Florida. I mean, literally, Florida Man becomes it should be a daily part of every individual's right to look up the absolute ridiculous spit that goes on in the state of Florida, and it's the heat that gets to people's heads. How do you defend this place?
Well, I defend it mostly because it's amusing.
Okay,
it's
done.
Like
Surrender.
I'm not going to argue that Florida is not the weirdest state, and in some places, sometimes the most dangerous state. It is. You're right. It's a crazy place, but I enjoy the craziness, and it's never boring here. And if you're a humor writer, this is God-given. This state. But I also think, some of my defense is tongue in cheek, but I find it hilarious when people from like New York mock Florida. I mean, New York is not paradise on earth exactly, which is why like every day like 9 million New Yorkers move here. So it's a combination of I think it's amusing and also what makes your state so great,
And not only that, but from the Dave Barry side of things, you're warm. Which you got to put in there every single time. People go,
I'm a little too warm lately, but yeah.
Oh, dude, please. It's as people say, how is it in Florida today? I go, it's the surface of the sun, my friend. Trust me.
It's an armpit. It's a giant armpit.
Thank
today.
you.
That's our weather is armpit weather.
And we have run out of deodorant. There's no doubt about it. So then why now? Now this is book 50, correct?
Oh, I actually don't. This is not false modesty. I don't really know. A lot of those are little books, and they're or collections of columns. So probably real books that actually were original, start to finish, maybe 25 or 30, something like that.
So we're still in the range. I mean, you've won a Pulitzer. You're a New York Times best-selling author. You have written books about a little bit of everything. Why Lucy this time? And I got to tell you, I love it. I love it that you wrote about your girl, but why Lucy?
Well, Lucy specifically is because she's my dog. And as you can see, she's a very beautiful older dog. But what led to the book was last year, I turned 70, or actually a year and a half, when I wrote the book, 2017.
Remember, you're not supposed to tell your age now. Don't make CBS Sunday Morning. Don't give him any more ammunition, Dave. Tell him you're sick.
Jane Pauley is 147, just for the record.
Thank you. And now Jane will never watch this show either.
No, I actually like Jane Pauley, and she probably is not a day over 140. But I turned 70, and Lucy, my dog, turned 10. So she, in dog years, was 70. And the premise of the book was that, and it started with an actual serious moment in my life. When you turn 70, Ed, someday you'll turn 70. Not for many years, but someday you will.
No. People keep asking my age. I say it's a deeply buried secret, my friend, but you're right.
But when it happens, that's like 60 is not that bad anymore. A lot of people, but 70s is like you get there and you're looking around. You think the next big birthday I'm going to have is 80, and like 80 is by any standards. Nobody ever says 80 is the new whatever. Although the boomers, we probably will because we never admit to being old. But anyway, I started thinking in a kind of reflectively, the way I don't very often do, about well, okay. I'm nearing the end. I'm not there yet, but I'm getting there. I can see it's in sight. How am I doing? Am I happy? What should I change? I mean, I actually sort of took inventory of my life in a way that I have not really done before that. And I decided that I was basically doing okay, but that I sort of slipped slowly into a bunch of bad habits that you do when you get older. I mean, little things like you used to be kind of up for more things, and now you're just not up for more things. Or you used to be up for making friends, you're not. No money. I got enough friends. I don't need any friends. You sort of, you turn old is what happens. And I was thinking about that, and I don't know how specifically this came about, but I thought about Lucy, who also is getting old, but other than physically, other than that her face has gotten gray and she sleeps more, she really hasn't changed at all. She's the way dogs are. She's very consistent, and she's happy. She's a happy being. And so the premise of the book is, what is it that dogs do, or in my case, what is it that Lucy does that make her happy? And could I do those things? Could I apply those things to my life? Obviously, not including like drinking from the toilet, but her just demeanor, her attitude toward life.
I really want to be there when Michelle finds that one out. Yeah, that's going to be a moment and a half.
Yeah. That'd be after a long night of something. But anyway.
Indeed.
Yeah. So that was the idea. That was why I wrote a book about things Lucy does that I could do. And that's the premise of Lessons from Lucy.
Is it not fair to say that we're dog people? I mean, I am my kids. I said, great. I finally got an interview where I can put in my kids and I can get them out there and get them some global exposure.
What kind of dog is Magnus? That's a great looking dog.
Magnus is a Norwegian Elkhound.
Is he huge?
He's 63 pounds.
That's not so big.
He's got a double coat, which means he sheds to the point of, if we would have thought about it from the very first day, we could have gotten rich on pillows. And we didn't. We screwed up. And Bailey's the Beagle. We got them both the same weekend, and they're both 6 years old as we're recording this, and they're brother and sister. They grew up together. But what you're pointing out is, I think, the same thing that I'm going through, because what I'm doing now is, we've had them 6 years, and I look at life now a little through their eyes, because Bailey sleeps, Magnus wants to play. We take them out to different places when we go out to restaurants, and they've got the inquisitive side, and they want to know everything. But there are kids more than people sometimes want to admit. And you're right. Now you're sort of saying, all right, well, Lucy's lived a good life. Maybe it's time to be a little bit more like her. Which then leads me to that point. You've talked a little bit about her, but what is it about Lucy from the moment you got her that has really left the mark on you after 10, 11 years of being together?
Well, as you're a dog person, so this will resonate with you, and I think those people who have dogs know. Dogs they're not people. I'm not one of those people who go around, contending that dogs are, should be treated as people. But they have souls, and they're thoughtful in their own way. But what makes you become attached to them, I think, so much, is how always in the moment they are with you. The evolution of dogs is they were wolves that learned to like humans originally just for food, but the better they could connect with humans, the more likely they were as a species to survive. And so dogs have learned. It's not fake. It's not it's not a ruse. They want to be with us. They want to know what we're thinking. They want us to like them very much. That's how their species developed. But it's who they are now. They are our companions. They're not some kind of animal like a cow that doesn't care one way or another what we think or how we feel. They care very much how we feel. They want very much for us to be with them. They want to be with us. It's all they want. When you have a being in your life that loves you that way, that cares about you that way, the way a dog does, and it's, as I say, it's genuine, it's real. You cannot help but respond to it. When I come home and Lucy comes to see me, as she always, the first person in our house to the door is always Lucy. And it's genuine joy that she's feeling. Genuine, hey, God, I missed you. I want to be with you. you cannot help but respond to that. It makes you feel good, and you miss them when they're not around. You know what I mean? It's just and when a dog dies, and some people just don't understand this. Well, it's just a dog. Why are you so, it can really affect people.
They don't get it.
Because you lost something really important in your life. It's not a person, but it's a relationship, and it's a really deep and significant relationship. Every dog owner knows this. That is, and I think it's good, really good for people. If you can't get along with anybody else, you can get along with your dog. And if you can't care about anybody else, you can still care about your dog. They will make you care. And that's good. It's good for your soul.
So then there's two things that every dog owner needs to be asked, and I need to see if what page you're on with regard to this. First one is, we were told when we got the dogs, when you come home, do not make a big deal about it. Come home, open the door, pet them, walk away, and let it just go. Absolutely. They said that's good for the dog. Don't treat the dog like anything special is happening, because it's just another moment. And the second thing is, of course, never let your dog sleep on your bed, which is the one that is. Okay. So now, Dave, the question to you and Lucy. And by the way, is Lucy your only dog, or do you have others?
No, Sophie, my daughter, and I have been lobbying intensely for 5 years now to get Lucy a sibling, and Michelle so far has not yielded. It took 10 years to get Sophie to convince Michelle to get Lucy in the first place.
I'm talking to Michelle. That's it. I'm sending her. I'm going to bombard her social media now from this point forward.
Sophie and I want another dog. We want another dog.
Okay,
and Lucy wants
that. We're going to get. We're going to take care of that. But do you make a big deal when you come home when you first come in the door? And is Lucy allowed to sleep on the bed?
I'll answer the second one first. No, Lucy's not allowed to sleep on the bed because she's pretty big. She's like 80-something pounds, and she snores. So, no Lucy on the bed. But it took a while for her to accept that rule. As for the greeting when you come home part, I don't understand that. Why you wouldn't? But I break that rule all the time. I'm real happy to see Lucy. I tell her what a great girl she is for coming to see me.
Yep.
Sometimes I point out to the other people in the house that Lucy seems more excited to see me than anybody else.
We're there. It's the same thing. We make a big deal out of it every single time. And the beagle
Now,
goes
do your
nuts.
dogs sleep with you?
Oh, absolutely. Right into
Your dog?
Yep.
You do.
But
Both
see,
of them.
the beagle, because you see, and again, you have to realize that there is that size issue here, because the beagle, Bailey's only about 25 pounds. So she will dig under the covers. That's where she wants to be at all times. It's 9,000 degrees outside. She's under the covers. Magnus comes up for about 10 minutes, gets his pets, and then he's on the floor because he's there. He's the guard dog at that point, which I'm telling you, Dave, if you're thinking about a book, that's going to make a great book one time. What goes on in the dog's mind while the dog is laying there at night being the guard dog? Just try to get inside the dog's mind, and it'll be insane. I tell you, I love the fact that you wrote about Lucy, that you've got that kind of a book in there, that you've done one of those. What's next? I mean, you've done so much. You're such a prolific writer. You're an amazing writer. I honestly, I've given your books as gifts probably 100 times in my life to people,
and
I've never had one returned, which is real good. So, I mean, what's next? Are you're still there, 70, 50, whatever you are right now? There's still more books in Dave Barry's future?
Yeah, I don't really know what the next one's going to be. Right now, I'm probably going to write some about the presidential campaign. I don't know if you've heard this, but we're going to have another presidential election. Why? I don't know.
No, gee, I hadn't heard that. I was kind of hoping that the last one was going to be it, and it was just going to, at this point, it was going to peter out. We wouldn't have to go through that again.
Yeah. We won't have no, we're going to go through it again.
Oh,
I don't know if there's anybody in the United States not running for president right now, but there's a lot of people who are. So there's a lot for me to write about.
I ain't running,
That's probably what I'll focus on for a little while.
I ain't running.
Well, it's too bad because I would have voted for you.
I have no desire. Oh, please. Before we get away, I do have to notice it because you mentioned her a few times, and I do have to tell you, your wife Michelle, I knew her before. I think I knew her before you two were married, because she's also.
I want to stress that this picture is taken at a costume party, and that is not how I look most of the time. But thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, but Dave, you clean up nice, brother. I got to tell you, your wife is one of the sweetest, nicest people, and she is an amazing writer. Who, I mean, every single time we were on deadline places and covering sporting events, I mean, Michelle knew every single thing and was able to point off every single stat, and she was so good. I mean, does she edit your books?
No. First of all, thank you on behalf of Michelle. She is a terrific sports writer. She doesn't edit my books, but I do periodically say to Michelle when I'm really feeling insecure, "Is this funny? Do you think this is funny?" And to her credit, she always says it is. I don't know if she does or not, but at that point, if I've asked that question, it's because I desperately need her to tell me that it is funny, and she always says yes. So.
Well, that's her job, of course. You know, but here's the thing:
Yeah.
would she tell you if it wasn't funny? Would she really be honest?
I don't know. I guess if she thought it would be damagingly not funny, then she would tell me. But generally, she knows I'm not really asking. I'm just like seeking approval. So
I like that. Damagingly not funny. I'm writing that somewhere. I do want to let everybody know that the book is out right now, and it is a celebration of life, of two lives in many ways. It's Lessons from Lucy, The Simple Joys of an Old Happy Dog. And on that cover, that is a happy dog right there. I don't think there's any doubt about it. That's a very happy dog. And if you want to follow,
she's a happy dog because she's about to run over and lick the photographer. That's why she's happy.
Well,
I'm holding my right arm in that picture is gripping her so tight that I have a muscle cramp, trying to keep her from racing over to the photographer.
If it was my dogs, if they had a banana in his hand, they'd be all over. They would. There's no way I'd be able to keep them away from the photographer. And there are ways where you can follow Lucy. The Instagram page is at Dave Barry's Dog, where you can follow her. You can follow Dave on Twitter at Ray Adverb, on Facebook at Funny Dave Barry, and the website is davebarry.com. And believe me, I think what's right there. I know more than she does, but she knows something I don't: how to be happy. And I will tell you this, Dave: if there's one thing that dogs do for us, they make us happy every damn day. And that's why
they do.
I give you a big chops for this book. Congratulations on another one. It is a pleasure to finally get you on a show and be able to sit here and just talk. I hope we get a chance to do it again. My best to the family as always, my friend. Write 100 more books. Will you please keep going?
I will do that.
Keep going.
Thank
Absolutely.
you, Ed. It was good of you to have me, man. I enjoyed
it's a pleasure to talk to you. Don't forget to make sure that you catch Dave Barry's material. We gave you all the social media. The social media, once again, just to go ahead and make sure that you all have it, is at Dave Barry's Dog, at Ray, that's on Instagram, at Ray Adverb on Twitter, at Funny Dave Barry on Facebook, and he's not that funny. And then there's the website, davebarry.com, to catch it there as well. Don't forget, you can catch us. Our shows are on YouTube on a regular basis. You can go welcometothearena.com. We are also on all the major podcast platforms on audio, iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, all the rest. We're there. You can make sure to catch us there. You can catch us. We've been flashing throughout the show again. Our email address to get a hold of us there. Please send us your comments, questions as well. And also, you can catch me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We will flash and here once again are all those items and all those addresses so that you can catch us there and make sure that you are part of the show. Once again, go out and get a book, laugh a little bit. Hell, people, we got to laugh a little more in this country. As Dave said, 2020 is coming. Be scared. I'm Ed Berliner. This is the Man in the Arena. Thanks so much for joining us, and until next time, rock on, true believers.